Tests of the new highly automated Krona air defense missile system have begun in Russia. It will become another layer of defense and will allow important facilities to be protected from drone attacks. What is this system? What are its advantages? And how did the war against Iran prove the importance of this approach? We will talk about this, as well as about the new hero of the week, after a brief summary of positive news. The Soyuz 2.1B launch vehicle successfully launched from the Plesetsk Cosmodrome and placed Ministry of Defense satellites into orbit. Another batch of Su-35S fighter jets has been delivered to the troops. In the Astrakhan region, construction has begun on a plant for the production of marine and industrial engines. The first laboratory in the world for the development and research of palladium-based materials has opened in Moscow. The tests of the new work and rescue suit for the Navy have been completed. The former Caterpillar plant has resumed operations in the Leningrad region. In Moscow, production of equipment for the energy complex and the first Russian microfocus X-ray devices has been launched. In Kursk, the production of technical fabrics has been doubled. A plant producing structural components has been opened in St. Petersburg. In the Novosibirsk region, there is a plant for the production of sandwich panels. In Mordovia, there is a lighting factory. In the Smolensk region, there is a large coffee plant. The war against Iran, which started on February 28, 2026, has given the world several important lessons. The first lesson is that even after thousands of strikes with precision weapons on pre-identified nodes of the Iranian air defense system, it still retained its ability to function. In early April, an American fighter jet was shot down over Iran, followed by aircraft sent to rescue the ejected pilot. Although the details of this operation are being kept secret, it was right after it that President Trump suddenly switched to a ceasefire and negotiations, which confirms the fact that Iran's air defense system was still functional. The second lesson is that Iran, by using inexpensive mass-produced drones and missiles, was able to inflict significant damage on its opponents, while the opponent almost exhausted its stock of expensive interception systems. The third lesson is that in a prolonged confrontation, victory does not go to the one with more money and the most advanced technologies, but to the one who can mass-produce cheap weapons and wear down the enemy with constant asymmetric attacks. And while Iran's opponents are realizing what has happened and thinking about how to adapt to modern warfare, Russia, which had already learned all its features before, has already begun testing a new defensive system. This week, preliminary tests began for the newest short-range surface-to-air missile system for territorial air defense, Krona, produced by the Kalashnikov concern. The system consists of two vehicles, a command post on a Kamaz chassis, and a combat vehicle, which is equipped with a weapon module, turrets with launchers, radio, and electro-optical equipment. It can be mounted on a BTR-80 armored personnel carrier, on a Kamaz BMW-2 combat vehicle, on an armored car, or used separately as a stationary unit. Krona can use two types of anti-aircraft guided missiles: the 9M340 missile originally developed for the Sosna system, and/or the 9M333 missiles from later versions of Strela 10. The first type can reach targets up to 10 kilometers away, while the second has a range of 5 kilometers. The development of Krona began about 2 years ago and was completed in record time, and the system is primarily needed to protect areas from enemy attack drones. And although the engineers began development long before the current war with Iran, they predicted all of its lessons. And here's how.
Awesome.
After Iran delivered a series of painful blows to enemy aircraft, rumors began to circulate about its previously unknown secret weapon. But in reality, the best weapon is not some single perfect missile or radar, but a dense and layered defense consisting of a combination of different detection and strike systems. The Americans inflicted significant damage on the Islamic Republic's radars, partially blinding them, but they became vulnerable to air defense systems using passive optoelectronic systems. Such systems are almost invisible to reconnaissance and can strike from unexpected directions, then quickly change their location. The Russian Krona can also operate in guerrilla-style radio silence, as it is equipped with optical detection and fire control systems, and its wheeled chassis allows it to quickly change position when necessary. Therefore, the first Iranian lesson has been fully taken into account. The second is that countering drones is built into the very foundation of the system. That's exactly why it was created. Where it's too expensive or impossible to use S-400 or S-500 systems, meaning in the close-in zone, Krona will come into play and protect Russian cities, factories, and ports from drones. The capability for vertical launch provides 360-degree coverage and allows it to respond to threats from any direction. And artificial intelligence reduces the workload on human operators and significantly speeds up the response time to a target. And finally, the third lesson concerns mass production. In our opinion, this is the most important aspect, so let's talk about it in a bit more detail. In a month and a half of war against Iran, the Americans used more than 850 Tomahawk cruise missiles, each costing about $2 million. They depleted their arsenals of Standard Missile and Patriot anti-aircraft missiles, each costing from $2 to $6 million, and also completely exhausted their stock of the latest PRSM missiles. It will take up to 2 years of work at military factories just to replenish what was spent. That's why the Pentagon is not trying to force contractors to build new production facilities right now, which of course would also require both time and money. In general, Americans have discovered that modern warfare is an expensive undertaking and that their military industry is not prepared for a prolonged confrontation. But Iran apparently has maintained the production of inexpensive drones and missiles, so it is not going to make any concessions. There were many concepts of super air defense systems in Russia, but they never reached the stage of mass production. Now it's clear to everyone that this is for the best, since modern warfare requires other, more economical solutions. Krona was created in record time because it is based on already proven modules and a minimal number of new components. Kalashnikov's engineers created a kind of construction set that is simple and reliable, just like the legendary rifle. The chassis for the Krona are readily available and produced in large quantities, as are the missiles, so launching mass production of the system after all the required tests will be no problem. Russian industry, unlike the American one, is fully prepared for this. However, as we've already said, there is no magic solution for all types of threats. That's why Krona is designed to be integrated with other systems such as Pantsir, S-400, and others. They don't compete with each other, but rather complement one another. And the more layers of protection there are, the more reliable the defense becomes. We will keep an eye on the fate of the new product and report on it in future episodes. Next, an announcement and a rescue story. The American president recklessly started a war in the Middle East and put his allies in a very awkward position. So awkward that the Western leaders who carelessly supported him lost power under the pressure of outraged public opinion. And this isn't about Trump, but about the most unpopular U.S. President George Bush Jr. and his war against Iraq in 2003. Today, Trump is becoming just as toxic a leader as his predecessor. A core of the international anti-Trump camp is forming around Spain, and the conflict in Iran itself has entered a phase of operational pause, during which the American president must tackle his most important task, deciding who to blame for the failure of the first stage. There aren't many options: Israel, Western allies, corporations, or specific officials. The choice will determine the likelihood of a new escalation, and in general, what the world order will look like in the coming years. I'm analyzing the geopolitical puzzle and explaining why Vladimir Putin is flying to China in the latest episode of my analytical show, 3 Points, at Sponsor Super. Next, a story about a hero. In the Sverdlovsk region, a 32-year-old factory worker, said Sharapov, noticed thick black smoke coming from a first-floor apartment in a neighboring building as he was leaving a pharmacy. He came closer and saw a 7-year-old boy on the windowsill who had opened the window by himself and was trying to get outside. Said rushed to help him, pulled him out, and learned that the rescued boy also had a younger brother in the house. Without hesitation, the man climbed into the apartment, found the younger 5-year-old child, and handed him over to the passers-by who had arrived. And when he was about to leave, he heard a quiet cry somewhere in the smoke behind him. He couldn't see anything anymore, so he had to search by touch, but fortunately, he managed to find a 3-year-old girl hiding behind the sofa, whom he also successfully rescued and brought out into the fresh air. Soon the rescuers arrived and extinguished the fire. It turned out that the children's mother had left for a while, and at that exact moment, for an unknown reason, the fire started. If it weren't for Saeed's brave actions, everything could have ended in tragedy. Thank you for your heroic deed, and we wish you success.
You overcame your fear and doubts, which means your time to move forward has come. It's Russia's time, a time of achievements, a time to move forward. This is the time, our time. We've waited for so long. Here it is. Our time has come. Think, act, push forward. Subtitles created by Dima Torzak. Subtitles created by... Subtitles created by Dima Torzak.